sports fans, it's time for Between the Lines, an opinionated look at the week in sports. Now, from the showroom of Napleton Infinity in Augusta, Georgia, here's the stars of our show, Will Avery, Roy Peake, and the Mac Daddy, Charles McNeil.
Thank you so much and welcome. This is Between the Lines, an informative show with a lot of opinion, and we're happy to have you guys along for the ride. Let's talk a little bit about the guys that are joining me. I'm the Mac Daddy, Charles McNeil. To my right is Roy Peake, and you guys know him from the Georgia Sting organization, and also from the Georgia Sting organization is William Avery, who also has a new role where he's working with an ABA team. He's the president of basketball operations for the Augusta 706ers. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Charles. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Man, excited to have you guys on board, and we've got to get right at it because these folks have been waiting for a while for this. This is our pilot episode, and we hope that you enjoy it. We're going to chop it up and talk a little bit about college football, NFL football, the NBA, MMA, Major League Baseball. That's all packed in this one show, so let's get to it. Upper 90-degree weather on the gridiron Saturday, and a couple of top 10 teams went at it, and unfortunately they went down to defeat. We'll get into that in just a bit, but let's first start between the hedges, where the Georgia Bulldogs pulled off another exciting victory as they took out their opponent in easy fashion, 41-13, Roy.
Yeah, Georgia they're a good team. I think they struggle with consistency. They have a great running game. The passing game is a question sometimes, and you have to question the offense and defensive line. But overall, I say in the SEC, they're the biggest challenge to Alabama.
All right. Will?
You know, I'm a Georgia fan. I've been a Bulldog all my life. I was glad to see us get back to having a pretty good performance yesterday, but in my mind, I really don't feel we've played as well. I feel like the South Carolina's it's been the one game I felt we've put it all together so far. We have a long way to go, but I think we'll get there and we'll be ready. You have a big test next weekend, but the main thing is just the pass protection. I think if we can hold up and keep guys and keep Fromm clean, we can really get the ball to our playmakers on the outside. I think we're going to be a really, really tough team to beat.
Roy, the top-rated team in all the land, your Alabama Crimson Tide, 60-point victory, 2 throws, 4 touchdowns. Man, that was quite impressive.
Yeah, and an amazing thing, Tua's putting these numbers up in three quarters or less. He had 333 yards at halftime, 4 touchdowns, and the guy's not tested in the fourth quarter yet. But the concern again with Alabama is their defense. They're young defensive backs. We knew it was coming. Now it's starting to raise its ugly head. And of course, the kicking game needs some improvement. But when you have the best coach in college football, I think there's
It's his opinion.
there's going to be some improvement, no question.
Yeah, Alabama's been dominant. Tua's probably been the best player in college football. You can't deny it. But there's definitely some holes in that secondary. They're young. They're very talented. A lot of them are 5-star recruits out of high school. And, they're going to get better along with all the other teams. So it's really too early to really tell how good they're going to be. They are well coached. I don't think they have the best coach, but they are well coached. And so we'll see what happens later on in the season.
Well, guys, let's dig a little deeper into the SEC and that upset in the swamp, Will.
Well, again, it's SEC football. Those teams, LSU's been challenged so far with Auburn and now Florida. And that's the SEC. That's what it's all about. Week in and week out, you're going to be tested. And those are some of the things. Georgia and Alabama right now haven't had those tests, like an LSU. And it worries me a little bit with Georgia going to LSU next week. Hopefully we can put it all together. But they're not a bad team. I don't think they're a bad team. I just think that's what SEC football is all about. Week in and week out. It's not about anybody can play better than you that day. As we saw with Mississippi State knocking off Auburn as well.
I think LSU is who LSU is. I mean, they have the best athletes in the conference in, year out, have no quarterback. So you have to decide where you're going to go with your coaching. Coach O was not the popular decision coming in. I don't see him making it through next year.
Well, Roy, let's stay with you. The ACC and Clemson, one of the top-rated teams in all the land. They saw their quarterback Lawrence come back and an easy 60-point win in a difficult place up in Winston-Salem.
And no doubt, they dominated the game from the start, and Trevor Lawrence came back from with injury that could have been pretty devastating, but he came back, bounced back. Again, they run the ball extremely well. They had 3 guys over 100 yards yesterday, but I don't think they trust Trevor Lawrence. And if you can't trust your quarterback, there's no chance for you to win a national championship.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting going forward with Clemson and Trevor Lawrence, how fast he grows up when he faces the Florida State. Even next week at NC State could be a test for him, and we'll just have to see how he holds up. But they did a good job of running the ball yesterday, and I think that's going to be key for the young quarterback to be able to run the ball and keep him in third down in manageable situations.
Well, we talked about one of the upsets that happened in the top 25 at the Swamp, but we also have to talk about the Red River Showdown in the matchup of Oklahoma and Texas, and what a game that was.
That was a great game, and Herman's come in to Texas and done a great job of turning that program around. And being in Texas, you have access to all the great athletes in that state. I see Texas coming up. They're going to be a challenger in the top 4 before the season's over with. And if we can keep getting recruits into Texas, they're going to be a challenger, I say.
You know, that conference is just full of offense. You know, what a game, very exciting. Kyler Murray did his best to get him back in the game, and they make a 40-yard field goal to win it. Outstanding game, and you still have, you know, West Virginia in that conference. You know, as good as those teams were, you know, lights out, you still have a team that may even be better. You know, so it'd be exciting to watch how that conference, you know, turns out in the end.
What you know is you're never out of the game in that conference.
You're absolutely right. Defenses are probably on vacation, permanent vacation in that conference too. Well, it's time for us to get interactive with you. Our desire is to get you involved in what we're talking about. So we're talking college football right now, and we want your top 4 picks, your top 4 in the poll, and we're going to get the experts to give us their top 4 as well, and we'll move forward into this progression. Let's start with you, Will. Who is your top 4 teams in the country right now?
Alabama, number 1. They've just been dominant. Like I said earlier, I think they have at this point the best player in college football in Tua. I like Ohio State, number 2. It hurt my heart to go against my Dogs, but Ohio State has went on the road and knocked off TCU, that was 15th in the country at the time, and only other loss has been to a really good Texas team, as we saw yesterday. And then to go in Happy Valley, prime time, whiteout, and beat a top 10 team in Penn State. I'm going with them, number 2. I'm going with Georgia, number 3. A lot of talent there, I think, in the end will be a really good football team. And then 4, I'm going with Notre Dame, you know, who has 2 impressive wins, big wins over Stanford and Michigan, and took care of Virginia Tech yesterday fairly easy. So those are my top 4.
I can't really go against that. We've definitely got Alabama number 1. I think they're heads and shoulders above everyone else. Ohio State, I have them at number 2. I think they're the team that can produce enough offense to be able to compete with Alabama at that level. I'm going to go with Georgia at 3. If they can secure their offensive and defensive lines, there'll be a real challenger. And at 4, as much as I hate to do it because of all the hype they get every year, I'm going to go with Notre Dame as well. Yeah, they've looked good, but you know we've seen this show before, so they get to the finals and can't finish.
Well, again, that is your opportunity to jump in. Do you agree with Roy? Do you agree with Will? Your opportunity to jump in, and I'll put mine out there eventually down the road. I'm going to wait a couple of weeks to get my picks in until it's a little bit more certain. But you get a chance to do that with each and every week. Now, most importantly for each of y'all that are tuned in, we want to make sure you know that we don't, you know, dislike the high schools in our area. As a matter of fact, we love them, and we love the fan support that surrounds them. So our real desire for you guys is to interact with us from a high school perspective as well. Who is the best high school team in the area? Please let us know that. And you can also jump into the page and do that at any time. And also let us know about the big games that are coming up in your neck of the woods. And congratulations to all the winners, and best of wishes to the losers from this past week. I know Jefferson County's in the house here today, so they pulled off a big win over Laney, and I was a part of that broadcast. So we'll get into that and a whole lot more coming up next. Next up for us is the Major League Baseball playoffs. Will it be the Braves? Can they stay alive? The Yankees or the Red Sox? We'll talk about all of it up next. This is Between the Lines. Stay with us, everyone.